You're listening to the Savoir Faire audio experience.
Are you ready?
The Savoir Faire experience is your guide to everything that has to do with lifestyle. From dating, rides, style, and entertainment. All brought to you by the editor of Savoir Faire magazine, Robert White. Anything goes on this audio experience. So, let's go.
It's still the best.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Savoir Faire audio experience. This interview today is one that I'm really excited about because this gentleman has a marketing agency, and it's very focused on very specific type of people. So we're going to let him kind of explain things to us, but I'm very excited to connect. So Giancarlo, hello, how are you doing?
Hey, Robert. Hey, I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. Definitely glad to connect. So you told me before we started the call that you're in California, right? That's correct?
Yep. I'm
Okay.
here in LA.
Yep. Now, the Plan C agency is what you own. That's also based in San Francisco area or LA. What's the story there?
Yeah, we originally got our start in San Francisco, but we moved down here in LA about 20 years ago now.
Oh, awesome. Excellent. Okay. Yeah, I saw the journey began in 1995. Is that the correct year?
Yeah, it sounds so long from now, right?
Yeah.
So long ago.
When you say yeah, like you sound just like a CEO that's very seasoned, which is awesome. So,
it's funny. It's like, I've been seeing more and more TikToks and Instagram about, if you were born in like in the 70s or the 80s, you were really old, and 1995 is a long time ago. So
it's one thing to be the age that you are compared to the age of your company, which is like, that's probably like having a grandchild or something, right? You're kind of like, really, am I that old? I have a grandkid. This is crazy. Life's going by so fast.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I feel that. So I definitely want to learn more about the Plan C agency, what you guys are doing over there, your focus. It's very unique to me. But I want to build a little bit of a timeline. So I'm hoping we can kind of dive back into a little bit of your history, and maybe you can just give me some feedback on who you are, a little bit of your background, where you grew up, and then we'll jump into the company stuff.
Yeah, no problem. So my name's Giancarlo Pacheco, and contrary to popular belief, I'm not Italian, although I can't go a couple of weeks without eating a pepperoni pizza. So I definitely love Italian food. But I'm ethnically Filipino, Chinese, and Spanish, and my family and we immigrated from the Philippines when I was 6 months old. We immigrated to the San Francisco Bay Area, where I was raised and I grew up, and now I reside here in LA for the past 20 years. But growing up in the Bay Area, it's like I was that kid with ADHD. I didn't have the best grades. I always kind of lived outside the box. I always tried to figure things out on my own. I wasn't a rule breaker per se, but I definitely tried to do things that bend the rules in my favor.
Okay.
As I kind of grew up, right, my mom was asking me, well, she got really pretty fed up with me. I wasn't really focusing on school, and she asked me, I was probably like 7 or 8 years old, and my mom said, how are you ever going to work for someone? And I told her, I go, what do you mean? I'm not going to work for someone. They're going to work for me. And my mom just looked at me like I was crazy, right? It's like that entrepreneurial kid not knowing anything. But I did know something. And later on, years later again, my mom was complaining about my cousins having better grades than me. And again, I had this smart aleck response, and I said, you know what? I just have to be smart enough for them to work for me. So I knew at a young age that I was really kind of born to be an entrepreneur.
That's cool. And I think about that stuff a lot too, actually. I think that entrepreneurship is something you're born with. I think there's you figure this out sometimes earlier than later. I mean, in your case, obviously you were a young kid when you started kind of dropping these hints to mom and letting her know where you stood on what you were going to do for a living. But I think for some people, like, there are telltale signs about you probably should be an entrepreneur. I should probably make like a top 10 list, because I think there's some like really solid things that give away you probably should be an entrepreneur if. One of those things is if you're a super, super creative person. I think that's a telltale sign. One that happened for me, I didn't know I was going to be self-employed until literally 14 years ago when I started my own company. And my company started because I figured out that like I couldn't keep a job. I was going through job after job after job and couldn't get settled into something that I truly loved. And that's one of the things that I picked up on for myself. And then finally, now I've got like, almost a 14-year career, which is crazy to think about after not being able to make it in any other job more than a year without losing my mind. That's when I knew that I need to be working for myself. So I completely understand that vibe. That makes a lot of sense.
I would definitely love to see that list, because that first statement you meant about being creative, that's how I started my company, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that I started in San Francisco, and Plan C started off as an events company. So we were doing events, parties, we were doing nightclubs, we did raves and auto shows all in the 90s throughout the 2010s. And it was kind of my creative outlet. It allowed me to kind of think about creating themes, thinking about which DJs, which entertainers that we were going to hire, and how we were going to promote it. So those are all going through my mind, as a kid, or when I was growing up. And I just said, I always had this thought about challenging the status quo, looking for opportunities, and really trying to connect with people. And that's how the company started, right? So it evolved. In 2001, when the .com era was happening in San Francisco, we got connected with with an advisor that really restructured us. They restructured us into a holdings company, and from a holdings company into a C corporation, where the events company ended up becoming underneath it. And we also started a music management company. So you could see the creative roots are really embedded in me, from events and then going out to doing music management. And then in 2004, that's when we established Plan C Agency. And Plan C Agency is a multicultural marketing agency that forges authentic cultural connections with the Asian audiences. And that's where I choose to focus on. So all my events that I was doing as I was growing up is because I saw a budding opportunity with the growing population of Asian Americans, specifically in the Bay Area. But then it started to grow, and we started doing events throughout the entire country. And we've done over 6,000 events and had millions of attendees. So that evolved, and then started our ad agency that felt like, well, there's a real good opportunity here, right? We're not necessarily seeing brands market to the Asian community. So using events, I thought this is a great opportunity to actually get brands to activate at the events that we are doing. So that's how Plan C Agency kind of got its start.
No, that's very cool. And I'm listening to you tell me your story and all the lovely things that you did before you focused in on this. And it's wild to me, because I think we have we're kindled spirits in some way, because my company started exactly the way yours did, just doing events, putting stuff together, working with DJs, models, whatever I could find to make the coolest nightclub, nightlife experiences. And then from there, we advanced into a management position where we were working with models, working with musical artists, working with them more directly, and then advanced again, where we broke off and made some media outlets, and then started kind of getting into a marketing and advertising role, which is where we are now, actually. So you're 19 years ahead of me, but I'm in this position exactly where you just kind of described, where we're starting to think about more of okay, I built some really great networking opportunities, and met some really great people. Now, how can I utilize this group of people that I know to go into a different direction? And I like that you guys are very focused on the Asian American market. That's super cool. Obviously, everyone needs to have a niche. But when you talk about your Asian American niche, you're talking about marketing to that audience and working with that audience too, though, right? A lot of your content creative stuff that you guys are creating is Asian Americans in everything.
That's correct. I mean, I loved hearing your story. I mean, I really vibe with what you just said, right? It's like, wow, I didn't, it's great to hear someone that has almost like a parallel life. And, to answer your question, I mean, what had happened is that we just because that was the community that we were serving, the people that we are around, is that it was very natural for us. In working with those entertainers, like those musicians, I mentioned that we worked with, we had a music management company, and the musicians that we worked with was the Far East Movement. And the Far East Movement was a Asian rap group, was the very first rap group to hit #1 in the Hot 100. So, I mean, that was a big challenge for us to overcome, to be able to get them there. But to see that we were able to do it was very gratifying, to see where they were able to evolve and what they've become. I think in marketing, what we've been able to do was that we're also known for bringing K-pop to the masses here in the United States. So back in the early 2000s, we integrated K-pop tours with a big client of ours, with Verizon. And it's funny that we're having those discussions again, like how many years later. So it's funny just to see how much Asian Americans have now been able to contribute specifically to American culture, and Clancy has been a big part of that.
Yeah, that's cool. And it's cool that you've been in these like unique positions too, to kind of have this network that you're building. I definitely know about the K-pop stuff. And obviously everyone knows G6. Like, if you don't, go look the song up. That's the group.
Yep, that's it.
Yep. So, I mean, those things obviously made a national impact, an international impact, through some of that stuff. But I mean, the part that I like most about the marketing perspective and the uniqueness is you guys are not doing just like very traditional marketing. Okay. I would assume that when we say marketing, people are going to automatically assume, oh, they're talking about like web development and social media. That's not the topic here, right? We're talking about actual ad creation, really kind of building full on campaigns to help brands grow in multiple different facets of media, not just social and web, right?
That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
Our agency started off as a 360 integrated agency. So when we were doing campaigns, when we developed campaigns, it wasn't only advertising. We were thinking about, okay, how can we integrate a celebrity or an influencer component into this? How can an event component be integrated into this? And then using advertising and publicity and PR to amplify the message of that particular campaign. So we were doing that very early on, and now it's become, it's pretty common. You definitely see it more, but to be early on and identifying that this is going to be the trend, especially if we wanted to target the growing Asian American community, we needed to do this.
Makes sense. So let's tap into your brain a little bit, because I love this kind of stuff. I'm always kind of curious about the way people think when they get this kind of basic thing. So we know you've done, like, on your website, it talks about Old Spice and, bringing in some celebrity comedians to get involved with this campaign and have a fun kind of thing. But when someone comes to you, maybe you can even use this as an example, because most of the stuff's already public. Just talk to me about like the structure in getting this thing organized and the different steps you guys go through to get this campaign where it needs to be, like just some logistical kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you're bringing up Old Spice, because that's definitely been a great win. And I'll give you a little bit of context. We've been working with Procter & Gamble now since 2018. And when we first started, they weren't doing any Asian outreach. There wasn't any concerted campaigns to reach this audience. And I was slowly been able to build that relationship with Procter & Gamble, specifically with Mark Pritchard, who leads so many great initiatives. And you know what he does? He focuses on growth. He doesn't necessarily say, okay, yes, we want to be inclusive, but no, he's also looking at what the opportunity that lies within to be able to say, okay, let's try a campaign. Let's go and develop it. Now, there's a lot of people within Procter & Gamble that in order to make that happen. Now, when we started working with Old Spice, it was under indexing. It was under indexing with Asian Americans, and we saw that as an opportunity. Now, and the campaign, when we were looking at it, we were looking at specific insights that really made sense for Asian American men specifically, who we were looking at, and as well as Asian American youth, and looking for what is that insight that resonates not only with an Asian man, but with the mainstream audience as well. And we call that the true and truer effect. It's true to the general market, but it's more truer to an Asian market. So that's how we first evolved into how we come up with a concept. So that concept then was originally supposed to be launching only specifically targeting Asian Americans. But guess what? Those ads are released now in the general market, and I'm happy to share that it has outperformed any Old Spice commercial from previous iterations. So it's been a really great thing for the agency, as well as showing that the Asian American community can show growth.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very cool. Well, it has the commercial has Ronnie Ching in it, right? Which is like, I mean, that guy's hilarious. I was watching his stuff way before. I mean, for a while. So he's one of those guys that's just on the radar for everybody. So when you do launch a national campaign, like, you know, outside of the Asian market, it completely makes sense that this stuff's going to hit correctly because he's hilarious. Like, I did watch the commercial before you and I kind of got together, the one that's on the website, and yeah, it's awesome. Like, very cool.
Yeah, it was. I would tell you, it's pretty coincidental that it just all happened. You know, that he would be doing so well at the Daily Show, winning an Emmy recently, and then that spot that you saw on the website actually got played during the Super Bowl. So a lot of good things happened. Yeah, so we're really excited the way it's performed. So I'll share now. I mean, we got a couple spots that are supposed to be running next year, so they're all in post production. So we're excited. We're really excited to see where Old Spice is growing, and I'm really excited to see what P&G is going to do more with other brands with the AAPI community.
Yeah, it completely makes sense. So let's talk a little bit more about the company, I guess, because I really want people to know about Plan C Agency and what you really encompass over there. I mean, for people that don't know about you, what's kind of some of the call things that you would tell people about your agency that makes it just a little bit different besides the Asian American aspect of this?
Well, I mean, you know, what makes us different is that we do focus highly on creating authentic cultural connections with the Asian audience. I mean, that's why they come to us.
Okay.
Why do brands come to us? They come to us because they want, that connection to the audience. And that's what we sell. You know, that's really what we sell. We're a full service agency. We definitely do strategy. We do media. We do concepts, events, and influencers. But really, they come to us because they want that authentic connection with the Asian audience. And that's how we're able to bring awareness to their products, sell products, and help them grow.
Okay, makes complete sense. What are some other things that you guys are working on in the future? Can you give me some insight to like new projects or things that you guys are looking at, different media outlets or options to get into? Like, is this, I mean, obviously commercial is one of those things, but like, are you diving into other platforms that are maybe new that people aren't really paying attention to, where the Asian American market is kind of more populous?
Yeah, you know, we have various clients doing different things. So with Procter & Gamble, most of the work that we're doing with them is advertising and influencer work. But one of our other clients that we work with Pernod Ricard, and Pernod Ricard is a spirits brand, one of the largest in the world. And we do a lot of work on strategy. We develop a lot of their creative, but we also do a lot of activation work. So Lunar New Year is coming around, and Lunar New Year is the biggest holiday for the Asian community, specifically celebrated by Chinese, Vietnamese, Koreans, and Filipinos. So that's those are some of the biggest, largest demographics here in the United States. So with Lunar New Year, we'll be doing activations like events out in New York and in LA, and inviting influencers to really partake and really celebrate the holidays. So the new year we're going to be celebrating is the year of the snake. So that's something that's going to be coming on. Many brands get really active around Lunar New Year. So that's something that we're working on. We also work in the media space. We buy media and do all the planning specifically for Remitly. So Remitly is a remittance company. They send money throughout the entire world. But what's really great there is that we get to create and think about different ways that the brand is going to be showing up. So a lot of that, not only specifically in media, but we're also looking at where we can get involved in product placement and content creation. So looking at different shows that we can, where the brand can show up And that's also something where we really challenge our team to do something a little bit different that really kind of gets the attention of the audience that we're targeting.
Yeah, that's cool. And it's awesome that you guys are thinking outside the box and thinking about the ad placements and any more unique kind of concept, which is awesome. But yeah, this all completely makes sense. I mean, you guys are definitely banging out of the park. You got some great customers. Your business model is working like crazy. You got this very unique niche. You obviously have a lot of experience. Like, what a great conversation, man. I'm really glad that we were able to connect and I was able to learn a little bit more about, Plan C and what you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation as well. I'd love to check out one of your events too.
Yeah, I'd be interested in definitely connecting. So again, thanks so much for your time. I'm really glad we were able to connect. We'll get the article out here in the next few weeks. And then, yeah, I mean, it sounds like we're kind of kindled spirits. We should probably talk about some of that other stuff that we mentioned, because I'd be really curious to see what kind of unique, paths might come for us in the future as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Awesome, man. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the show. Please take a minute to head over to www.savoir.com and subscribe to our publication.